Hey guys, Nike here. The recent balance patch has been a bit of a game changer for Power Berserker. In the hands of a very skilled player, it was already quite good, but a less skilled player would simply have an impossible time keeping Berserk uptime high enough to justify really using it in actual fights. For 99% of players, just using Spellbreaker would almost always give better results. The recent balance patch, however, has made maintaining Berserk significantly easier to the point of being trivial, and has made Quickness generation equally trivial for Power Berserker. Since the two builds are identical in every way apart from a single trait change, this guide will serve for both builds. Simply put, Berserker is a fast-paced, high APM, highly thematic build and performs well in instance content. When should you use Berserker instead of Spellbreaker? It really does come down to personal preferences, since the playstyles are rather different. They each have their selling point, but Berserker is a much faster paced playstyle, and Spellbreaker is steadier and has significant passive defenses and more CC. If you're a warrior player, you'll frequently want to swap between the two depending on the encounter. If you're a non-warrior player looking to dip your toe into the class, pick the build whose playstyle syncs with yours the best. If you're looking for a Spellbreaker build guide, I have it elsewhere on my channel. But with that said, let's talk about Berserker and let's go over the build. Alright, so for gear, we're going to use full Berserkers in every slot with power infusions. Very simple for once. For runes, as you can see, we will take Rune of the Scholar. For Relic, we are going to go with Relic of the Thief. So yes, we are basic. Our weapons are going to be Greatsword and Axe. And on the Greatsword, we're going to use Sigil of Force and Sigil of Hydromancy. And on our axes, we're going to use Sigil of Force and Sigil of Air. You should be aware that there are going to be several fights where Sigil of Impact is better than Sigil of Air. So if you're a true min-maxer, you will want another axe to bring that has Impact Sigil on it for fights where there is an exposed debuff on the boss, or a fight where there's maybe two bosses at once that you have to cleave, or just a lot of adds are the key to the fight. For everything else, you can use Air Sigil and be totally cool, and it's fine whichever way you go there. For food, we are going to use cilantro, lime, sous vide steaks. And for utility consumables, superior sharpening stones are the default. And if you enjoy actually having really good DPS, you can open the bank a little bit and use writs of masterful strength. So that's basically it for the gearing and stuff. With that said, let's get into the traits. So our traits are built to maximize our DPS and optionally give quickness if we want to play this as a boon support character. Our trait lines we're going to take are Strength, Discipline, and Berserker. In Strength, we want the classic choices of Peak Performance, Great Fortitude, and Berserker's Power, simply to maximize our damage output. In Discipline, we take Warrior Sprint, Destruction of the Empowered, and Axe Mastery, which is key for giving us enough adrenaline to power out all the primal bursts that we're going to do. In Berserker, we take Smash Brawler, Blood Reaction, and Bloody Roar. If you are playing the Quickness build as a Q DPS, you're going to want to swap Blood Reaction for Heat the Soul. With Heat the Soul, you give Quickness every time you land a hit with a burst skill, and there is no ICD on this. This allows us to trivially keep up perma-quickness on our allies. And this does mean that you can fulfill more roles for your team without having to buy another set of gear or learn a different playstyle. Quite simply put, if the LFG that you're trying to join or the team you need to play with needs a quickness, you can swap one trait and now you are quickness. If they say, nope, DPS is good, then you can just stay with Blood Reaction and play DPS. It's really that simple. For our utility skills, we are going to take Blood Reckoning, Signet of Might, Outrage, Signet of Fury, and Headbutt. The Signets are pretty simple damage increases, don't really need to discuss anything about those. Blood Reckoning is incredibly powerful since it does so much for us. It recharges our burst skill it fills our adrenaline and gives us essentially a 5-second window where we are totally invulnerable as long as we are able to keep hitting our target. That's a pretty nice package for a heal skill with a quarter-second cast time. Headbutt and Outrage exist to make sure we don't drop our Berserk by giving us a little bit of extra Berserk extension. Since we overcap Berserk by so much, in fights where CC is very important, you can save Headbutt for CC without endangering your Berserk uptime, but you will want to continue to use Outrage on schedule in those situations. If you do indeed choose to play the Quickness variant of the build, you have the option to replace Signet of Might with a different utility skill depending on what your team needs of you. For Great Justice is an easy way to contribute big might generation to your subgroup, which can sometimes be lacking if you're a lack person in your sub can't make 25 might all on their own. Additionally, you could either use Banner of Tactics or Banner of Defense to contribute great effect defensively if you really can use those things tactically. One thing to bear in mind is if you do bring a banner with the Quickness build, that you should swap out your Destruction of the Empowered for the Double Standards trait. So yeah, that's really all there is to be said about the traits and the skills, and we are now going to talk about the playstyle and the rotation. All right, so as far as the playstyle goes, the rotation is actually deceptively simple. It is a perfect looping rotation that endlessly repeats, which makes it very easy to learn. But it is deceptively simple, as I said. It is very fast-paced, so mastering it and getting benchmark level DPS will come down to pressing your buttons quickly and skill queuing masterfully. It will often appear like you are following the rotation perfectly, but your DPS is lacking, and in those cases, I can assure you that it's almost always a matter of not pressing and queuing your skills quickly enough. If you think about it, every time you have the option to queue a skill and you let, say, 100 milliseconds go by before you actually do it, every 10 times you do that, that adds up to 1 second of DPS that you're behind. And so over the course of a long fight, by the end, you might be several seconds behind. So it is incredibly impactful to the rotation that you practice this. A lot more so, in fact, than many other builds. Additionally, with all that said, ping is also very impactful. If, like me, you play with high ping, there is going to be some inherent limitations to how much DPS you can pull, because every weapon swap or every unqueuable skill will add however many milliseconds of delay your ping is above the average person on your server. And again, over the course of a whole fight, that will add up to several seconds of lost DPS by the end of it. Just again, to give you an example, if you have, say, 200 millisecond ping and everyone else on your server is playing with 50 millisecond ping, that means essentially every weapon swap you are losing 150 milliseconds, which means after 10 weapon swaps, you are 1.5 seconds of DPS missing that you should have had. And you can see over the course of a long fight, that will add up to a lot of missing damage. So I'll end this by saying that I would suggest that if you absolutely want to perform as best you can, and if your ping is over 200, you may want to consider playing Spellbreaker or Bladesworn instead, since they are a bit more ping friendly. But with that preface done, let's get into the rotation. First up, as always, will be a slow-mo play of the rotation where I go over it and tell you exactly what's going on. And then I will do it at full speed, and then I will show you the build in an actual raid fight, or strike fight in this case. Yeah, so stick around for that. So the opener is the hardest part and the trickiest part of this rotation. You need to headbutt the boss to get your adrenaline, use Outrage to break stun, and then activate Berserk and then Arc Divider. And you have to do it as fast as possible. You cannot wait around. So it will take a little bit of practice if you're new to this build, but you need to, like I say, headbutt, hit, break the stun from Outrage, activate Berserk, and then Arc Divider. After the Arc Divider, we switch to Axe. We do Axe 2, and then Decapitate, Axe 4, and then Axe 3, and then Decapitate again. And then we're going to go into an Axe 5. And your Axe 5 is where you're going to catch your breath with this rotation. So once Axe 5 is done, we're going to Decapitate again. And then we are going to use Axe 2 to get some adrenaline, weapon swap, and then immediately Arc Divider. Use Blood Reckoning, Arc Divider again, and then go right into 100 Blades. And then right at the end of 100 Blades, as soon as the last hit of the 100 Blades happens, we are going to use Greatsword 4. And then we are going to Arc Divider again. Back to Axe for Axe 2, Decapitate, Axe 4, then Axe 3, Decapitate. You can kind of see where this is going. And now our Headbutt and our Outrage should be off cooldown. We will use Headbutt and then break the stun with Outrage, Decapitate, and then we are going to go into Axe 5 for another go-round. And then, as you'll see, we will Decapitate, and then we will use Axe 2, then Axe 3, Decapitate again, and then we are going to Axe 4 to get some adrenaline, swap back to Greatsword, repeat the Greatsword loop of Arc Divider, Blood Reaction, Arc Divider, 100 Blades, then Greatsword 4, and another Arc Divider. The Greatsword loop is pretty straightforward and doesn't change. One thing that you don't ever have to change any of the loop as I've just described it, but one thing you'll notice is once I go back to Axe this time, when the boss hits 50%, Axe 3 becomes a much more higher priority skill. So you'll notice there will be times where I could Axe 2 or Axe 4 before I swap to Greatsword, but instead I'm going to do Axe 3 because it is a much higher DPS skill. That is not something you have to do. You can learn the one loop and be good at that one loop essentially and be good to go. But if you really want to take it to the next level, when the boss hits 50%, you can start prioritizing your Axe 3s in situations where where you're otherwise going to do just an Axe 2 or an Axe 4 before you swap. Not really a game changer, but it's going to allow you to squeeze out, a few extra 100 DPS on your final number. So really nothing to sneeze at, but also not the most important thing in the world. And yeah, as I said, the rotation's a pretty much perfect loop. So there's really nothing really besides that to describe of this situation. So yeah, I think probably end it here and show you the fast version so that you can kind of get a feel for it. But yeah, again, any questions about the rotation, please leave them below. All right, so that's it, guys. I really hope you dig this build. I enjoy playing it quite a bit. I would encourage you to give this one a try, and let me know how you like it in the comments below. And if there's any hardcore Berserker players out there who are happy to be playing the build, please share your experiences again in the comments below. I'd like to hear what you have to say, and I will see you guys next time.